attached to the building. It's nearby after a report of a suspicious person. The search didn't turn up any suspects, but police say that they are tightening security throughout the city because of an anonymous threat that was received. As for the man behind Thursday's ambush, the last known employer of Micah Xavier Johnson told CNN that he passed a criminal background check. Johnson was a 25-year-old Army veteran and served in Afghanistan. While there, he was accused by a fellow soldier of sexual harassment. This according to a lawyer who represented Johnson in that case. We have seen clashes between police and protesters Saturday night into this morning in Minnesota. That is where dozens of people have been arrested, and our Bryn Gingras is there on the phone joining us now live in St. Paul. Bryn, I want to ask you, so earlier in the hour you updated us to tell us that there were people who were detained, who were placed on a bus. What is the situation from what you see now?
Well, right now, those are two buses that we saw a number of people getting loaded onto. Those have now left the area where we were. We're told about 50 people, George, were arrested during that particular protest, and all of them now at a police department being processed. Right now, we've relocated to the governor's mansion where both protests from this evening originated, and there's probably about 40 people or so up, not protesting, but sort of gathering. We're not sure if they'll take off again to another location and sort of continue to spread their message. But it has been a very difficult night for both protesters and police. Earlier this evening was when the first protest by this group here started at about 7:30. That one lasted for several hours and ended up shutting down I-94, which is a major interstate between the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. And that one also had several clashes with police. I talked to some of the people who were involved with that particular protest. They said they were tear gassed. They said that they had smoke bombs sort of sent their way. And the St. Paul police were also saying that they had fireworks thrown at them, bricks, concrete slabs, pieces of construction from an overpass of I-94. We're told 5 officers by St. Paul police were injured, not seriously, but nonetheless injured. So, again, 2 separate protests that now have wrapped up, but were very volatile at some point, George.
CNN's Bryn Gingras live and on the line there in St. Paul, Minnesota. And Bryn, we wish you safety as you continue to follow the situation there. Obviously, still playing out early into the hours this morning. Again, the attacks that happened here in Dallas, that attacker targeted police officers who were protecting a peaceful protest that day. The marchers there demanding change after the killings of African-American men at the hands of police officers. Now, many families in the United States, it's time for what is commonly referred to as the talk. It is a crucial, it is a very difficult and important conversation that many African-American families have with their children, explaining how to interact, explaining how to protect their lives if pulled over or questioned by police officers in this country.
I'm scared to sit my son down one day and say, they might not like you.
I want to have children one day, but I don't want to have a son because I don't want him to go through this police brutality.
I have a little boy, a little black boy that's 1 year old, and I fear for his future.
As a black man in America, we have to figure out how to survive. You know, and the best way to do that is to have conversations about it.
They might look at you negative before they look at you positive.
Don't play no loud music. Don't draw attention to yourself.
If they say turn around, don't fight them.
Don't reach for your pockets. Don't reach for anything.
Do what you can to keep yourself safe.
You have to watch what you say and what you wear.
Don't wear your hoods.
You just might be seen as a criminal, but you've never done anything in your life.
Just yes, sir, no, sir.
Yes, sir, no, sir.
Just give them honest feedback and look them face to face and just talk to them.
I'm going to move my hand to the glove compartment, sir. I'm going to get what you asked me to get, sir.
Just put your hands up if they tell you to put your hands up.
Everything I'm saying is measured, it's calculated, and it is thought out without question.
They're not us. We can't talk to them like they're us. We can't even reason with them like they are us.
You're already an African-American male. You already stand out. So try your best to just fit in with everybody else.
How do we as black people stand together and say no more?
So that is the talk that is had among many African-American families. At the same time, there is concern among U.S. police officers and their families. They're also speaking out. They say that with the growing hostility toward law enforcement across this country, they are worried even more now about their own safety.
As a parent of a cop, you're worrying about them all the time. It's a dangerous profession, one of the most dangerous jobs. There's not too many jobs where you know when bullets are being fired, you have to run into it. I'm always thinking about my daughter and my nephew every day. And anytime I hear of a New York City police officer crashing their vehicle, getting shot at or getting shot, those are the first two calls that I make.
No one wants their child or their significant other to get hurt in the line of duty, but it's just something that, you know, you learn to appreciate every day with them.
My husband always tells me he became a police officer to protect the community, and if there ever was a time that, you know, he was killed in the line of duty, he did what he wanted to do, was to protect others.
I tell my kids I have a dangerous job and that someday I may not come home. I'm a realist. I'm not going to put pink clouds in the sky and tell them that everything's going to be all right.
We've got to pray every single day for that boy, and I just pray that everybody else will be thinking about our officers throughout the country.
Most officers are good people, and they choose every day to walk away from their families and put their lives on the line every day.
I'm here to protect everyone, my children as well as somebody else's children.
We are still good people. There are still good law enforcement officers out there, you know, but I'm proud of my husband and I'm proud of my daughter.
And important to keep in mind when we talk about police officers, we're talking about people of all races, of all religions. These are people who also have a great deal of authority. The concern that they have and the concern that some of these families have, that is the conversation, Natalie, that's being had to bridge that divide.
It's so important that we talk about it. It's so true. Thank you, George. We'll see you in a little bit. In other news that we're following, a diplomatic spat is intensifying between Russia and the United States. Russian officials say they've declared 2 American diplomats persona non grata after what they call an unfriendly move by the U.S. That appears to be a reference to the U.S. expelling 2 Russian diplomats in June. The U.S. State Department says they were kicked out because a Russian policeman attacked a U.S. diplomat trying to enter the U.S. embassy in Moscow. But Russian officials say the policeman was just trying to protect the embassy. Tit for tat between the U.S. and Russia. Iraqi forces backed by U.S.-led airstrikes have retaken an air base from ISIS near Mosul. At least 38 ISIS militants were killed in the operation. Al-Qayyara is one of the biggest air bases in Iraq. Its recapture means it can be used in more missions against ISIS. Iraqi forces retook the ISIS stronghold Fallujah just weeks ago. The Iraqi prime minister says his forces would eliminate ISIS in Mosul the same way, adding ISIS, quote, fled like rats in the desert. We'll be right back.
Thousands of people, mandatory evacuations set to leave their home, but now they're allowed to actually come back to their homes, which is some good news for this particular area. But nonetheless, it has been an extensive and very busy, very active wildfire season so far over the western United States. In fact, over 2 million acres have burned so far just this year in 2016. A very well-advertised drought taking place in California. We've all heard about it. Almost 5 years strong now. We've got exceptional to extreme drought conditions from San Diego to Los Angeles, as well as the Central Valley and into the Yosemite region. But it's not only the western U.S. that's getting in on some of the drought action. We're also talking about the southeastern United States right here at the CNN World Headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia. We've actually just entered into an extreme drought as well. And let me tell you, I'm an avid gardener, and just having to water my plants day in, day out, just to try and get some harvest out of, let's say, you know, the very basics out there. We haven't had much luck across the southeastern United States. Well, this is all thanks to extremely warm conditions. In fact, the warmest June on record, starting to sound like a broken record, just like Natalie said a moment ago. We are 3.3 degrees Fahrenheit above where the U.S. should be for this time of year, at least in terms of industrial averages. And it's not only in the contiguous United States. We look northward to Alaska. We often think of this particular state as a cold area. Well, Nope, not this time. Statewide temperature was 9 degrees on average above the entire state. Unbelievable. Now, if we look forward into the next 10 days or so, we still have below average rainfall for the western U.S., equal chances for above or below average rainfall for the southeastern United States. And if you're looking for above average rain, you have to travel to the Great Lakes in the upper Midwest. That is where we have our chance of severe weather today. Grand Forks into the Aberdeen and Minneapolis-St. Paul region. We cannot rule out the possibility of hail or damaging winds. I want to take you to the other side of the world first, from the United States right to South Africa. This is close to my home, Natalie. I lived here for 7 years. We've got the World Surf League competition taking place at J-Bay Super Tubes. Wow, that is Mick Fanning. By the way, last year, same competition, he had a close encounter with a shark.
Oh, that's the guy. Look at him. He's right back out there. No big deal.
I know, tough. I wouldn't do that for anyone's money.
He's like, bring it, shark. No, we need there. No big deal.
I know. Tough. I wouldn't do that for anyone's money.
He's like, bring it, shark. No, me neither. All right, Derek, thanks a lot. Right. Thanks for ending on a high note, not a broken record. Well, he keeps breaking records. All right, well, we turn to France. The home team set to face off against Portugal in the final of the Euro 2016 Football Championship. The National Stadium outside Paris is set to host the match. And our Amanda Davis is already there on a beautiful day there in Paris. And Amanda, certainly the people there of Paris deserve to have this wonderful treat happen for them. How's the atmosphere there?
Yeah, absolutely, Natalie. Well, the sun is shining. The flags are flying from the buildings we can see overlooking the stadium here. There have been people queuing outside the shops on the Champs-Élysées just to get their hands on the French shirts, the French scarves, the flags, just to be part of this. France's first major international tournament final since the World Cup in 2006. The first time they've been in a European Championship final since they won it, actually, back in 2000. This is the front page of one of the local papers, Le Parisien. It says, "We want it." The picture of the trophy, Antoine Griezmann, their big star, Cristiano Ronaldo, the big Portuguese star. But we shouldn't forget, Natalie, that this isn't going to be a completely partisan French-backed crowd in this stadium behind us today, because actually France has the biggest population from Portugal outside of Portugal than anywhere else in the world. There's about 1 million Portuguese people based here in France. We've seen cars driving past that have both the Portuguese flags and the French flags. There's fans travelling from across France and, of course, from Lisbon here to get here in the next 9 hours or so before kickoff. As one Portuguese fan put it to me, France had their turn in 1984 and 2000. Perhaps this might just be Portugal's turn. But as you were suggesting, this has been a really tough time for not just the people of Paris, also the people of France. There's been the civil unrest, the strikes, and of course there's that continued threat of terrorism. This is a city in a state of emergency after those terror attacks here in November that killed 130. The Stade de France was one of the targets of the attacks that night, and the French team and their players are in absolutely no doubt what victory would mean.
We've had some very tough times this year, tragic events that happened off the field. We're even prouder to be on the pitch, to really feel the entire French population behind us, to feel this happiness shared between players and the French people. It gives us greater strength. It's lovely to see.
I have to say, Natalie, there's no hint of any trouble or bad atmosphere as things stand, but they're taking no risks at all. There are going to be 3,400 security forces and police employed on the Champs-Élysées this evening. There are an extra 4,000 or so that are also going to be here at the Stade de France and also at the fan zone underneath the Eiffel Tower. But all in all, everybody is just looking forward to what will hopefully be a fantastic football match.
And you're going to make a prediction? Will France be able to best Portugal?
It's a very tough one to call, Natalie. France are undoubtedly the favourites. They have the team that has perhaps the most talented squad of all those that were here in France playing over the last 3.5 weeks or so. They, of course, beat the world champions Germany in the semi-finals, and Portugal haven't beaten France in 10 meetings. That dates all the way back to 1975. But Portugal are relishing their underdog status, and of course they have Cristiano Ronaldo, a man who can turn a game on his own, and this is the one thing, a major international title with Portugal, he hasn't won.
We'll wait and see what happens in just a few hours, and you'll be there for us, Amanda Davis. Thank you, Amanda. Enjoy your assignment today at the office. Stay with CNN Newsroom. We'll go back to Dallas.
With you some images of how those fallen heroes are being remembered. Remembered. I'm George Howell, live in Dallas, Texas.
I'm Natalie Allen.